Good morning or good afternoon, depending upon when you're watching this. Today we are going to go through the types of rocks and review the rock cycle. Before we begin, please be sure that you have the notes that you can see here. We are going to fill in your guided notes, and then you are going to color and label the rock cycle. I would recommend that you either print this out and have colored pencils or highlighters at the ready, or if you would prefer to export this to Kami, you're perfectly able to do that as well. All right, so we are going to be looking at the types of rocks and how they change. So rocks are able to give geologists clues about Earth's past, because although we think of rocks as always being here and being unchanging, in fact, rocks are born and die all the time, and they're constantly in a state of change, especially when they're here at Earth's surface. So the rocks change over time through the rock cycle. And we have three major groups of rocks, and we classify rocks based on how they form. So we have igneous rocks, sedimentary rocks, and metamorphic rocks. Hopefully this is sounding like a review to you. So igneous rocks are going to begin as either magma or lava. So they've melted, they're molten in some way. Remember that magma is under Earth's surface, while lava is the same stuff but on top of Earth's surface. And because they have different cooling rates, we have various textures. So obviously magma underground is going to cool much slower than lava on Earth's surface. So you can see that we have large crystals, coarse-grained igneous rocks, and these large crystals form from slow cooling magma. On the other hand, we also have some igneous rocks that form when lava hardens very, very quickly. We can see that there are no grains or no crystals. And you'll see some of these should look familiar to you, like obsidian, which is often called volcanic glass, or this red one here is scoria. This one here, the dark black kind of boring looking one, this is basalt. So this is what most of the ocean floor is made out of. And I believe that this light colored one here is rhyolite. Sedimentary rocks are formed due to erosion. So remember, with erosion, we are moving sediments from one place to another. The sediments are going to be deposited in layers, and the oldest ones are going to be on the bottom. So think of this as stacking pancakes. The first pancake off is going to be the one on the bottom of the stack, whereas the one that just comes off the hot plate is going to be the one up top. And then over time, these layers compact and cement together and are able to form rocks. Now, I really like this animation because it shows you weathering and erosion. We have the rain, and then it's going to move, the sediment will move down the stream. And then notice as the stream kind of changes over time, we get this build out of the stream. That is going to be sedimentary rock. And then they are also going to lay down and start forming a new rock strata here. And we can see that in the yellow. So sedimentary rocks are always formed either on or very close to Earth's surface. And the different layers are called strata. And you can see this is a great picture. I believe this is from China, but you can see the different layers of rock. Whew, that startled me. Stratification is the process in which sedimentary rocks are arranged in layers. So here are some examples for you. You can see that these sediments are all different sizes. Some of them are very large, some of them are much smaller, some of them are just sand size. They've all been compacted together, so that's a big conglomerate. These sediments have crystallized out of water. And then this final picture down at the bottom is fantastic because you're actually able to see that different layering of the sediments and how they were laid down. So remember, your oldest sediments are going to be at the bottom and your newest ones will be at the top. And these individual layers are called rock strata. And then that process is called stratification. Metamorphic rocks are our third type of rocks, and they are going to form because of heat and pressure. So metamorphic means to change shape. Think about a butterfly, they go through metamorphosis. Okay, so these are rocks that are going to change in some way. So when we expose rocks to either extreme heat or extreme pressure, but they remain solid, we get a metamorphic rock. What happens if they don't remain solid? What happens if they melt all the way? You got it. They're not a metamorphic rock anymore. They would be an igneous rock. Remember, igneous rock comes from molten material. And this process is usually going to take place deep within Earth. And you have another great example here in your animation. So you can see that we have the sedimentary rock that is the downgoing plate at the subduction zone. And we can tell that there's going to be intense heat and pressure. And then that intense heat and pressure is going to change it into metamorphic rock. So metamorphic rock is very common at plate boundaries, especially convergent boundaries. We also get metamorphic rock in and around volcanoes. So you can see that the heat from the magma is going to change the surrounding rock from what it was and make it something new and different, but not melted, which then is going to be metamorphic rock. If that rock completely melts and becomes a part of the magma, then remember, once it comes out the top of the volcano, it is now igneous. So here are some metamorphic rocks. We usually talk about them in two groups. So under extremely high pressure, we are going to see this arrangement in stripes or bands. And this rock here, the one that looks like a zebra, is called gneiss, spelled G-N-E-I-S-S. And geologists call this foliation. And then you can see that we have high temperature. We do not get stripes, but we do get different rocks from what they started. So these are new rocks. They are not the same as the sedimentary rocks that they began as. So let's do a quick recap. Igneous rock forms when magma or lava cools and hardens, and it can cool and harden either on Earth's surface or beneath Earth's surface, and then be brought up through the processes of weathering and erosion. Sedimentary rock is going to form when pieces of rock are laid down in layers at Earth's surface or very close to it, and then get compacted and cemented together. And then metamorphic rocks form from sedimentary rocks, igneous rocks, or other metamorphic rocks that are exposed to extreme heat and pressure. So the rock cycle is a continuous process of change. So weathering and erosion produces sediments, which then form sedimentary rocks. Heat and pressure will produce metamorphic rocks. And melting and cooling produce igneous rocks. So if you should now see this blank rock cycle. We are going to color and label it. So the labeling is probably more important than the coloring. If you are working on Kami for coloring, your best bet is going to be to use the highlighter function as opposed to like the crayon or colored pencil function. If you want to print this one out and do it by hand with colored pencils or markers or crayons, please do so. Make your heart happy. I know for me, I love to color. It's very relaxing. All right, so we are going to start with magma. So remember, magma is going to be rock that has melted either under intense heat or intense pressure. So go ahead and color in your first splat, if you will, red, that is magma. And then we have two arrows, the one coming back towards it and then the one coming up. Please label both of those melting. Remember, labeling magma and melting is more important than your coloring. I'm going to keep moving, but please pause me so that you have an opportunity to color. So when magma cools, it is going to form igneous rock. So when magma cools, it will form igneous rock. Now we can then expose igneous rock to weathering and erosion, and we're going to break it down into sediments. So we have three arrows that we need to label weathering and erosion. My recommendation is that you label the big one, weathering and erosion, and then these two smaller ones, just label them W and E. And this time you are choosing brown. When sediments are compacted and cemented together, we form sedimentary rock. So compaction and cementation is going to be a pink arrow. And sedimentary rock is going to be orange. Again, please pause me at any time so that you are able to color and label your image. Sedimentary rock can then be exposed to intense heat and pressure to form metamorphic rock. Now, a couple of things that are important to note. Metamorphic rock can be exposed to more heat and pressure and become a different type of metamorphic rock. Igneous rock can be exposed to intense heat and pressure and become a metamorphic rock. Sedimentary rocks can be exposed to intense heat and pressure and become metamorphic rock. Okay, we can also melt. We can take sedimentary rock and apply heat and pressure to the point that it melts and make it igneous rock. All three types, igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rock, can be weathered and eroded into sediments, and those sediments can then be recompacted into sedimentary rock. So it's important to note that this is a continuous cycle, and that we are able to jump between rock types. We don't have to go all the way around. Notice that there are some shortcuts. And the cycle continues and continues and continues, and is responsible for so much of what we see on Earth's surface. These tend to be very slow changes, so we don't notice them all the time. But when we add them up over hundreds of thousands and even millions of years, they are able to change the face of our planet. So here is a quick recap video. It's about 4.5 minutes.
Rocks are everywhere. They are large and small, heavy or light, porous or dense. But rocks in some shape or form can be found all over the planet. Different types of rocks are formed in different ways. There are three main types of rock: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. Igneous is a word that means fiery. Igneous rock is formed when magma or lava cools. Sometimes magma cools slowly underneath the Earth's surface. This forms intrusive igneous rock, like granite. Other times, lava cools when it comes to the surface in a volcanic eruption. This forms extrusive igneous rock. Some examples of extrusive igneous rock are tuff, obsidian, and pumice. Igneous rocks make up about 95% of the Earth's crust. The next type of rock is sedimentary rock. Sediment is small particles of sand, mud, and organic material that settle to the bottom of water or land areas, often lakes or oceans. Sedimentary rocks are formed when sediment accumulates over time in deposits that form layers. These layers become squeezed and compressed over time until they consolidate into a rock. Sedimentary rocks are the types of rocks in which fossils may be found, since the process of forming sedimentary rocks can preserve plant and animal remains that are deposited into the sediment layers. Some examples of sedimentary rock are limestone, shale, and sandstone. The third type of rock is metamorphic rock. The word metamorph means to change form, and metamorphic rock is rock that has been changed by extreme heat and pressure. Sedimentary rock, igneous rock, or even other metamorphic rocks can be changed by heat and pressure into new kinds of rock. Metamorphic rocks can be formed by being deep under the earth where pressure and temperatures are high, or when rock near the surface is heated up by the movement of tectonic plates or magma. Different types of rocks become different types of metamorphic rock when exposed to heat and pressure. For example, shale becomes slate. Sandstone becomes quartzite. And limestone becomes marble. Rocks are slowly but constantly changing in something known as the rock cycle. The rock cycle begins with magma, or hot melted rock, deep beneath the Earth's surface. This magma becomes crystallized, becoming igneous rock. These rocks begin to erode or break down into small pieces because of wind, water, or other forces. The small fragments of rock are carried away as sediment when water passes over them and are deposited in layers, which eventually become sedimentary rocks. Then, some sedimentary rocks are pushed below the surface due to tectonic activity, where they are exposed to heat and pressure, transforming them into metamorphic rocks. If the rocks are buried even deeper, they may melt and form magma, starting the cycle all over again. Of course, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks can be eroded into sediment, and igneous rock can become metamorphic rock or lava. But one way or another, rocks all over the world keep changing from one form to the next.
All right, so that is all I have for you today. Next week, we are going to be looking at how weathering and erosion shape our planet's surface. Take care, stay safe, and be kind to one another. Bye.